Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we talk about our favorite video games and all things pop culture with an emphasis on our favorites. I'm your host, Jared, and our guest today is Courtenay Taylor. She's voiced countless roles in over 175 video games. Jack from Mass Effect, the Soul Survivor in Fallout 4, Ada Wong in Resident Evil 6, Amanda Holliday in Destiny 2, Juhani in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Serina in Halo Wars, as well as major roles in Diablo IV, Call of Duty, and the DC and Marvel franchises. You've heard her as the Matron of Ravens on Critical Role's The Legend of Vox Machina, KO from Cartoon Network's OK KO, Let's Be Heroes, Starla on Regular Show and shows like American Dad, Family Guy, and as Magic in X-Men 97. She's a voice director working on AAA game titles and is co-founder of NerdsVote, a nonpartisan organization that brings voter registration opportunities to pop culture conventions around the country. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links to them are down below. And with all that being said...
Hey everybody, this is Courtenay Taylor, so pay attention because it's Razzle Dazzle time.
Hello Courtenay, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today?
I am so well. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
If I was doing any better, I'd have to hire somebody to help me enjoy it. Thank you for asking. A quick Kickstarter question I have for you. What would be the first thing you do in a zombie apocalypse?
I'm gonna really disappoint you. I would take my cyanide pills. Everybody always wants me to be like, you know, they're like, you'd be awesome in a zombie apocalypse. I'm like, absolutely not. I have seen way too many zombie movies, people getting eaten. It never ends well. It's always like agonizing for the 2 hours. I'm like, nope, just give me the cyanide pills. I'm out.
Just get it over with.
Curl up with my dog. Good night.
Oh, I love it. Well,
and everyone hates that answer. And I've gotten into arguments with people about how that's not the right answer because they want me to be on their, team.
Sure.
But yeah, no,
Understood. Yeah, no. Every answer you give here is the perfect and right answer, so don't worry about it.
You're the only person to say that. I'm like, I'm first person out.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us, where did you grow up and how would you describe the musical background of your childhood?
I grew up in the Bay Area, and music is a fundamental part of life in the Bay Area. So even as a little kid, my stepfather is a bass player, and so he turned me on to tons of classic rock. Of course, growing up in San Francisco, Journey, Greg Kihn Band, Huey Lewis, all of that stuff was important, sort of classic stuff that you hear at baseball games. And then I started listening to new wave and punk rock, and went to tons of punk rock shows. And then that morphed into, because you go to many different kinds of shows when you're a punk rocker, you get this sort of wonderful mishmash of what your parents are asking you to listen to or insisting that you understand musically through the ages. And then you would also find your own influences. So I went to Van Halen, Social Distortion, GBH, The Misfits, Aerosmith, Garth Brooks. I worked for a record company for a while, and wow. I love all kinds of music. So yeah, it's just always been a part of my life. And there's really nothing that I don't love except for folk music.
Oh my God.
And the Grateful Dead. You can't grow up in San Francisco and Berkeley and not, you either love or you hate the Grateful Dead. I'm the latter. Sorry, guys. Jam band's not my thing.
Understood. That's fine. So your stepdad plays the bass as a bass player. I'm teaching myself very slowly how to play the bass. I'm more trained as a woodwind musician. I play the saxophone and the ocarinas, but that's really cool.
Nice.
Do you have any instruments, or did you grow up with any instruments?
I didn't. I was always a band appreciator. I date a drummer, so I have started learning how to play drums, just dipping my toe into it, but it is super fun to break your brain. For me, I'm such a heady person, intense, kind of lots of thoughts all the time happening, that to be able to sit down at a drum kit and start to have your hands and feet move independently of each other, your brain has to go to a different place. So it's been really fun, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of it. But and I have a Flying V ukulele that I've learned some chords. My friends gave me a Flying V ukulele, which is a very heavy metal looking guitar.
Oh, okay.
If you're not familiar with a Flying V, it's what like the Scorpions used to play. It was very like 80s and 90s sort of metal looking guitar. So, which was such a great gift. But yeah, I now, being in a relationship with a drummer, I also look at music much differently than I used to. It's really interesting to approach it from a musician brain and a musician point of view, as opposed to just a listener. So it makes me love music even more. And I feel so grateful to have been able to see so many amazing bands come through, the Bay Area, the Beastie Boys, Soundgarden, Nirvana, early Aerosmith, like not too early, but but yeah, just, I'll go see almost anybody live. I just saw, during the pandemic, I saw The Darkness. They were amazing. I saw the Stereophonics. They were amazing. Trying to finagle going to see Oasis if they stay together.
Wow.
long enough to get over to England.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really love all kinds of music, and I love to see people perform. And I take some singing lessons here and there, but nothing that's turned out too good. So.
Right. Yeah, you enjoyed the live aspect of music more than anything.
Yeah, and when I was a kid, it was just about like stage diving and being in the pit and having a good time, and but I was very small, and so it was always a lot of fun to stage dive because you never got hurt and people always caught you. But but yeah, now I'm a little more sedate. I don't go to like gore shows anymore, get covered in blood or fake blood or anything like that. I sit and watch. Yeah, I saw Foxy Shazam last year. They were great. So I like a lot of glam bands. I like a lot of that kind of 70s sound.
Understood. Do you remember the first physical music you've owned that was yours? First CD, first record?
First thing I bought? Oh, yeah. God. I mean, I think it was Blondie. Yeah, I think it was Blondie. I mean, that was like, she was my gateway into punk rock. The band, Debbie Harry was my gateway into punk rock. Either that or maybe like a Caiatl record. But I'd say my official answer will be Blondie single. I really loved the way she looked, and I've always been very visual. I love clothes. I love, just putting on a show, which is funny because I do VO and so no one ever sees me, but I love playing dress up and pretend. And so I think musicians were sort of the first. Like I remember seeing Aerosmith and thinking, oh my God, they're so cool. Like, seeing pictures of rock bands and stuff and just thinking they were like the attitude. And yeah, I've always been really drawn to to musicians who are theatrical and wanting to have more of that in my own life. So when I was in New York about 15 years ago, and I was in a wig store because we were going to see Pat Benatar,
cool,
who still kills it. And I was like, I'm going to get a wig. And Debbie Harry was in the store, and I was like catatonic, and my girlfriend was on another aisle, and Debbie Harry like walked past me and like touched my shoulder and said like, hi, and kept walking. And so of course I like freaked out and ran and told my friend. She's like, oh my God, calm down. She thinks you work here. I was like, I heard my dream crusher. But yeah, she's pretty cool. And Amy Winehouse, people like that.
Awesome.
That's a mood for me, for sure. I like people who just don't care.
Right.
And who kind of
authentically themselves.
Yeah, march to their own drummer.
Well, this next question requires a bit of context, so please bear with me. As I mentioned before recording, I work at WGCU Public Media, an NPR PBS station in Southwest Florida, and we have this other show called 3 Song Stories that tells people's biography through music, right? The guest comes in, and they pick 3 songs that every time they listen to these songs, they immediately get transported back to a time and place that they have a significant story associated with it. I want to ask you, do you have one song story that you're willing to share?
Can we pin that one? I think I have to think about that. That's hard
fine.
For me because I have so many,
Yeah. It's always a hard thing to just narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
Really
I mean, yeah. I think, I'll have to think on that one. Let's circle back to that.
We'll circle back to it. I will do my best not to forget by the end of this conversation. Then let's get into your career a bit. Standard first question for most interviewers, for most journalists interviewing a voice actor. What inspired you to pursue a career in voice acting? And was there a defining moment when you knew that this is what you wanted to do? I know from the research I did on you, it was more... it just kind of happened that you were going a different path, but then found voice acting and then you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm cool with this.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I grew up like going to punk shows and skateboarding and living in San Francisco. And we weren't really, my mom was kind of very anti-TV. And we were very, very poor. And so, we didn't have we didn't have a TV for a long time. We didn't go to movies all the time or anything like that. We were not wealthy. So, I left to my own devices, and I ran around San Francisco a lot, playing sort of outdoors and in Golden Gate Park and things like that when I was a kid. It was much more about my imagination than watching cartoons and stuff. I mean, I watched some cartoons, but I was more of in a kind of a strange juxtaposition. I was more of like a nature kid. I really loved animals and, pretending. So I worked at a wildlife rescue place when I was like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Cool.
And so I would come home from school and eat a sandwich and then go to work. And I think that's probably when most people are, sitting, eating cereal and watching cartoons.
Right.
So and then I got into like punk rock and stuff. So I was always, music was much more my focus. So when I decided I wanted to act, which was, after sort of midway through college, I started taking acting classes. I was pretty late. I was not somebody we put on shows for my mom, but again, like people talk about doing like shows and stuff or like acting when they were kids.
Sure.
We did skits from Saturday Night Live once we knew what Saturday Night Live was, which was totally inappropriate. And we also did essentially we imagined what music videos would be for certain songs. And we would do those, we would act them out for my mom, but it wasn't about something we had seen. It was, again, more music than anything else. So when I decided I wanted to, pursue acting more, I was sort of making up for lost time. And I was studying at ACT in San Francisco, and I had wanted to do some continuing education in New York. So I had applied to a school there, and they had someone come out and we did our auditions for them live. And I was also, having grown up poor, I've also always had a job. And so I was working at a gym, teaching fitness classes, and then I was also waitressing. And so my voice was fairly textured. And the guy, I did my auditions for him, and he said, "You have a terrible voice. You can't project with that voice. I think you have vocal damage, and I can't accept your application without you going to a doctor. You'll never be able to do this work." I had never heard that. People had always been like, "Oh, you have kind of a cool voice." And so that was I was really upset. I left in tears, and I went to my voice and speech teacher at ACT, and she said, "I think you have an interesting voice, and actually you should take a voice acting class, a voiceover class." And I was like, I didn't know what that was. I knew that obviously there was someone talking during commercials.
Right.
But I went to this, Taylor Corbo had an acting school for voice where she taught people how to, act for commercials. And I went in and I took the intro class and I loved it. It was like everything that I had wanted to do, all the storytelling, but without having to be out in front of people, getting to imagine the stories in my head, but behind the mic was so much fun. I loved the commercial copy, even if it was, kind of goofy or whatever. I could see the commercials in my head. because actually weirdly, I had spent a lot of time reading aloud to my mom when I was a kid.
Right.
Like when we were in the car, that I had that practice of reading out loud. And then when we did get a TV, I loved commercials. I loved singing along with the commercial jingles. I memorized all of the lines so I could say that with them. And so much later on, I looked back at that and I was like, oh, that's so funny, because that was literally teaching me like looping, voice acting, commercial acting, timing, jingle singing. I mean, in a weird way, it all kind of brought me to where I am now. And I got behind the mic and I think it all coalesced. And I don't even think I really realized it until maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I really sat down and thought about it, where I was like, where did I get, because I really didn't do much acting as a kid. Right. But I mimicked my parents because they had accents, and I wanted to make people laugh because I was not, we were poor and didn't have cool clothes and stuff. And I knew my currency for hanging with like cool kids was to be funny. And
currency.
Truly, like I had friends who had lots of money and stuff. I mean, San Francisco's that way. And so, that was sort of my social currency, was being funny. And so, it all kind of coalesced into this very unorthodox background to get me to where I was. And I just felt like, oh, I want to do this. This is the thing. And then I began, my career, and then I started reading for video games and stuff like that. And it was like, because I didn't have a TV, I always had sort of a TV inside my head. So that came in handy, in imagining.
I think I'm picking up a sort of pattern that actually, led you to where you are, from what you're telling me. Like, you've had this extraordinary imagination ever since you were a kid. You love storytelling. You love just going out and expressing yourself, and somehow the dominoes just fell perfectly for you to land into this world that you're in right now. And that's beautiful. Just like, I don't know, it's happy accidents, but none of it's like accidental. You know what I mean? It's like just happened the way it's supposed to for you. And that's really
I mean,
cool.
I always felt like with my friends, I mean, a lot of my friends in this industry are classically trained, have been acting since they were kids.
Right.
They've done commercials and things like that. And I always remember being like, oh my God, like I got into this really late and I had to like make up for lost time. And now I look at it and I go like, oh, I was doing it in a very unorthodox way, but I was gathering the tools to do it. It just wasn't like on a stage in front of people. It was mimicry in smaller groups, making people laugh, watching,
for your mom.
Doing little skits and stuff for my mom, or acting out stuff in the car when I was, reading the Phantom Toll Booth to her while we were stuck in traffic.
Oh, I love this so much. It's so interesting and unique, and it's special. It's incredible. But to like you said, a lot of the people that I've had on the show, amazing people, and the majority have had like a background in acting, like you said, stage acting, theatrical, or on camera or whatever. Or on the flip side, they were disc jockeys, like for a long time, and they were working in radio, then got into voiceovers, and I always love finding out like how many different ways there are for people to get in the same boat as in, voice acting. And it's incredible. And you really do stand out. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah. It's interesting just even saying it with you. I'm thinking about it now. And it's one of the things that I occasionally teach classes. And I'm always asking people to, think about what it is that makes you, you. But I think that's sort of a platitude that can be difficult to wrap your head around. And it's like, think about what in your life has happened to you or you've done in order to bring you the tools that you need to do this thing now.
Right.
Right. And it could be anything. It could be being a medical doctor. It could be, being a therapist or but like, who were you as a child, as a teenager? Like, what things did you love to do that may on their face not look like they're a direct line to what you want to do right now? But like, are serving the same purpose. Like I didn't take, accents when I was in theater school. I had parents who had accents, right? I didn't have a TV, to learn about cartoons. And so, there are other things, like I had friends, honestly, in like the punk scene who were kind of like cartoons, so to kind of like not look for direct correlations, but to kind of feel around a little bit and go like, would this be something that would have made me want to do surgery or want to help people feel better about themselves or interview people? Like I would turn that question onto you and say, you obviously love interviewing people. What part of your childhood do you think were you that kid in first grade that walked up to the new kid and was like, hi, I'm Jared. Where are you from?
To answer it, it's quite the opposite. As a kid, growing up ever since I got into high school, I was very shy in my shell, right? Introverted. And it was always kind of hard for me to make friends in a way. Like I had friends, but like nobody that I can really connect with all that much until like I met one of my co-hosts who is my best friend. Till like I met him in middle school, but still, I was still in that stage where I'm like kind of out of my shell. Like I'm comfortable with this like one person specifically that I can talk to about anything and all my interests, and like we have a lot of shared whatever. And it wasn't until I got to high school where I got into the JROTC program. And thanks to that, and thanks to my Army instructor, Sergeant Mike, it helped me come out of that shell and learn how to be okay with who I am, regardless of like, how weird I think I am, or like all the things I like, shows, video games, movies, like whatever. Like it's okay to be you, and also finding your voice. And another part of that is like since I mentioned I've always had trouble making friends, even in my mid-20s I still have trouble making friends, but like I have a good handful of friends that has been with me all my life. And one of the reasons why I started this show was because after I moved for college and stuff, I didn't know anybody, right? And I wanted to find a space where I can meet people, where I can meet friends, like because I'm looking for that. So there's this media program at the university I went to, and it helps kids, it helps students like make their own shows, make their own podcasts, whatever. And I took that opportunity to find other people who like similar things that I like, but not necessarily exactly. And we would expose each other to aspects of video games or shows that we normally wouldn't look at by ourselves. Like, one of them loves Mortal Kombat. I'm not a big fighting game person. So, they'll expose that stuff to me and we talk about it, and we talk about like why they love it and what I think, whatever. That was my way to make new friends in a place where I didn't know anybody. And ever since we left that media program a few years ago, and that the original crew, we went our separate ways to explore different things. I then brought in my best friends that I've known all my life. It really helps bring out what I want this show to be. I want it to be, we're friends, we're talking about the things that we already like collectively, and again exploring the things that we like individually. And to wrap it to like why we do interviews is because I also want to extend that to the people I talk to you, and also find that commonality, and also learn about like the things you like, the things, the kind of music you were listening to growing up, the kind of shows you were watching, if you were, or whatever, like I also want to have that same connection with you, and that's why we do this.
I think that some of that stuff, that's all, it makes linear sense, but I'm so intrigued by you saying that JROTC was a stepping stone, because that to me is one of those things where you look at it and on its face you go, how would that bring you to doing interviews and stuff? But if you're a shy kid, maybe that's the thing that Sergeant Mike was like, you look people in the eye, you shake their hand, those little fundamental things that got you over that like hump of being a shy person and or gave you a tool to combat your shyness or work with your shyness, right?
Yeah.
Like the nonlinear things, so I'd be curious for you to talk more about how JROTC was the thing. You outright said that, that's really...
It's how that really helps with what I'm doing now is one of the main things JROTC teaches is leadership. And without learning how to become a leader, well, first a listener and then a leader, right? Through learning that for like over 4 years has given me the tools necessary to be the leader of this show, to be the producer, the host, the editor, to learn how to do all these different things that makes this show run. And without that, we'd probably be, the same state that we were like 3 years ago. The show is about 5 years old now. And we've grown a lot since then because I kept learning and listening to the other people within the show on how to make this show better. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's the thing is that I would ask anyone who's listening to this just as like a fun exercise, because now I'm going to do this when I get off the interview, is to look at where more places in my, to say how great that is that you learned to be a leader, but you also learned to listen. That's so cool that thing at JRTC teaches you to listen, and that's what makes a great interviewer, right? Is listening and then expanding upon what's being said.
Yeah.
And so where in your life as for people who are listening, if you have something that you dream about doing or that you are doing and you want to deepen your ideas about how you got there, is to look for those unexpected or a little left of center strings that lead you to this place, and, sort of grow those and just give those some space, right? Because it is really interesting to say oh, wow, I got here. I had terrible stage fright. I remember a friend of mine being like, well, if you have stage fright, why are you even trying to be an actor? And I was like, because I love telling stories and I love making people laugh and I love being a part of storytelling, and to be able to go even that is the thing probably that pushed me towards voice acting, is because I don't have to worry about what I look like or what faces I'm pulling or if anybody's looking at me. I'm just able to tell the story with, monofocus instead of all the other things that, you do in other mediums of acting. So even that thing that was sort of a negative, I think, is what pushed me into a positive place, into the place I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And now I do like doing on camera and stuff. I have done that, but it is still always sort of in the back of my mind a little, oh, people are looking. I'm used to being alone in my booth.
Right. Yeah.
What are you all doing here?
Yeah. And I went to school. I got a degree in journalism, right? And of course that helps me be able to come up with the questions and learn the structures of how to do a proper interview and stuff like that. But, I'm not a journalist. I work at a radio station, but my job isn't to produce stories, to go interview people for stories, then write the story. You know what I mean? It's not, that's not my job. My job is to produce the things. But this show, even though I'm not typing up an article after this or whatever, it still helps me tell your story. You know what I mean? So there, and
we sprout hundreds of other stories, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. I love where this is going, so thank you for this.
You didn't think it was going to be this navel-gazy, did you?
No, usually I look forward to these conversations sidetracking into this, these amazing conversations that we're having, this amazing talk that we're having. So this is what I plan or want to happen, but never plan for, because you can't plan for this stuff. It just happens.
Yeah.
Well, to tie it back a little bit, you have voiced a variety of characters with that has a lot of depth and complexity to them, right? What is your approach to creating certain unique voices for these characters, personalities, if anything?
It's always evolving. I am always trying to use different tools to get to where I need to go. And, I'm always looking for what I call fish hooks into a character in the script, trying to find something that will dovetail with something that I can relate to in my life. And there's a really amazing director, Tom Keegan. I've taken some classes with him and I really love his style, but he talks about kind of going through and thematically like picking out the themes in the story that resonate with you, right? So it's a very overarching thing when you first read the script. You read it a couple of times and try and find that, is it loss? Is it, love? Is it death? Is it, different feelings of not being enough, or, and how do those relate into your own life? And so I love looking for those fish hooks, and I kind of start from there. And then I'm looking for clues in the script all the time because, we have some really amazing writers in games who are doing tons of the heavy lifting for you. And we're lucky enough to, the games that I've done have rarely been about, going to the grocery store.
Right.
It's, it's
Very
usually
far from.
trying to, your spouse has died and your child has been kidnapped. So there's these big, juicy, arcs, right? So they do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to find emotional alignment, and then, taking things that I've learned in acting classes, trying to find the root of the thing is never the thing itself, right? So, and so trying to find the ways that people cover. I had a hard time in acting class being like, what's your objective? How do you get it? What are your obstacles? It felt so questions. Kind of like linear, and like I was like, it feels like Build-A-Bear or something, and it's like I get it, but it's always like, what's your damage?
What's your damage, Heather? Yeah.
What is your damage? And like why are you, searching for love? Why are you trying, who are you trying to get to validate you? I mean, people are very, complexly basic. You know what I mean? Like, we really just want love and food and sex and, pleasure. Right. And so it's like, what is your damage? Why are you trying to get those things? And what's your damage that's affecting the way that you're getting them, or what you're getting.
Right.
So I kind of come from it, from that, because I feel like, the normal stuff is probably harder for me than the damage stuff. So usually it's like, if I can dig down, be like, where's the really up piece? Then I can be like, okay, how do people shellac over this and use, observations and coping skills. I love the psychology of acting, of people, but yeah, to start with, I'm usually like, what's the damage? What's the fish hook to getting in here? And how am I reverse engineering out of it?
I want to ask for a specific character that you portray, the sole survivor in Fallout 4, as a character that is not necessarily their own. I would guess, I've only touched Fallout 4 just a bit, so I'm not like very much into the lore or that much of it. But it's the player character making these certain decisions, these dialogue options, right? And however each different version of this character, depending on the player, is completely different almost every time, depending on the people's choices. So for you bringing this character to life, what were some of the challenges to make sure that each take, I guess, or each branch is consistent? Does that make sense? It's a weird question.
Yeah, I mean, I can't underscore enough the importance of having a voice director.
Right.
There's an alarming trend in video games that is cutting voice directors out. And I think from just a logistical standpoint of consistency, and especially if you're working over a long period of time, it's imperative to have a voice director there for, the nuts and bolts consistency of things, but also because they're helping you place, they're giving you the context that allows you to, especially in a case like that, where it's like, you're trying to make each moment truthful, right?
Right.
So they're reminding you of the context, because nobody can keep all of that in their heads and act and then just keep switching on a dime, right? So they're providing this amazing coaching and hand-holding to some degree, and reminding of where you are, what the circumstances are, so that you can fully immerse yourself in that moment and make it real for yourself and for the people who are playing the game, right?
Right.
So that's a huge part of it. And I think that is something that is, because I'm a very emotional person, it's easy for me to, I always was like too emotional as a kid. I felt everything too strongly. So I think, again, that's a sort of left of center building block for doing this work, was that I could be laughing hysterically 1 minute and then completely in the throes of utter despair, the next minute, God forbid, like I would find a dead bird or something outside, and I would go from having a perfectly wonderful day to, being so upset and having to arrange a funeral and all the things. But that sort of like fast track to your emotions is really helpful. So that has stood me in good stead. Hopefully I'm a little more modulated, I guess, now. Right. But being able to feel the truth in the moment of those things, because you do jump around quite a bit. And it is like, here are the 4 choices, one after the other. It's not like you're doing a whole run through as like, here's your, really a hopeful, kind version, and here's your snarky bitch version. You're going from one to the other in a matter of seconds. So, you really need to, I always tell students, like, you have to do your research outside of the booth. Right. Because you really are getting called on to do so many things when you're in the booth. So I don't want to say like stock things, but very powerful, potent things that have happened in my life that I will go to
and reach back to and tap
reach
into.
back for those. And the combination of that and being able to feel things almost sometimes too much is helpful. Having family members who have been sick, things that happened to me as a child, losses I've suffered, or even just, thinking about like, God, I mean, a lot of it comes to, back to animals for me, thinking about what we're doing to environments and animals. And, I can read the news and get super emotional. So sometimes I just have to think about things that I've read and the impressions that they've made, and they'll keep up. There was a book that I loved as a kid that was about some field mice, and a bunch of the field mice, they would get ready for winter. They were getting ready for winter, and they were all, gathering nuts and straw and things like that. And there was one little mouse that wasn't doing any of that. And he was sitting there in the sunshine, and then he was doing all these various things, but it was not what the other mice were doing. And essentially, when winter came and it was cold and they were sitting around the fire, he had been gathering stories to tell the other field mice. And so they had been gathering sort of the nuts and bolts of everything. And he had been gathering the stories to keep them entertained through the winter, to keep them paying attention. And I feel like that's what you have to do as a voice actor, is kind of gather those stories so that you can pull them out of your pocket when you need them. I wish I knew the name of that book, but I don't. But it was a really great book. And so then they realized how valuable he was, because he was the storyteller.
Understood. I'm not trying to be too much of a downer, but like with these difficult and intense emotions that some of your roles have had to go through, have you found it difficult to leave it at the studio door, and how do you decompress?
Yes, not super often. I have a very clear understanding that this is make-believe.
Right.
I think there's also a part of me, because it's very, like, it's funny. I mean, if we go back to like the zombie thing, I think of what I have seen, like with my eyes. Yeah. And that makes me go, oh, absolutely not. It's gross. It's going to be people dying terrible ways or whatever. Like, because I've physically seen it, then it has more of an impression on me than if I'm imagining something. I think my brain can go like, this isn't real. But when I see like a movie, I am always like, I'm here over the uncanny valley, I'm like, it's all real. And so that stuff rocks me a little bit more. I think if I like was on The Walking Dead or something, maybe it would be harder.
Right.
Or, was doing like, what was that Brie Larson, like Room, where you're in a room with a little kid for months at a time filming a horrible, the premise of the movie is horrifying. That kind of stuff, I feel like. But when you're in a booth and you're looking over and you're seeing people and love who are directing you, and the movie's playing in your head, you can turn that off and kind of scrub it, I think, a little bit easier.
And as a voice director, you mentioned it before, I just want to touch on it a little bit more. What unique insights or approaches do you bring to a project being a voice director? Well, given your acting experience, has becoming a voice director, I'm sure it has, made you become a better voice actor?
Oh, yes, very much. I think so. I mean, just more conscious of more aware of how everything works together.
Right.
It's very important to understand like where we sit in the creation of these games, and that we are an important part, but we're not a big part in a lot of the creation of this, and that there's so much other stuff happening behind the scenes. And so I think it's made me more aware of what other people are doing within the session, and then also within the creation of the game. And so that has been great. I mean, even just like being 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late to a session can really throw things off for the devs. And, sometimes that can't be helped. Sometimes it can, but to know that you're also potentially cheating yourself out of extra takes as an actor, that you could be turning in a better performance or getting more time to really craft something. So understanding that, and then conversely, I think, being a voice actor it gives me a little bit of, I think sometimes people are a little more relaxed with me because I'm like, hey man, I'm just here. We're going to play. We're going to have a great time. This is make believe. And we have to get a certain amount of lines in a certain amount of time. But like, when I'm trying to peel away whatever the actor has coming in, of like the rules that they have to follow, I think sometimes I can get there a little faster than somebody who's not a voice actor, or give some suggestions that may resonate with actors a little bit faster or than other folks. I mean, believe me, there are plenty of amazing voice directors out there who are not actors, but I can only speak to what I hope I bring to the party, which is that.
And now I want to talk about NerdVote a little bit. How did the idea for NerdVote come about, and what has been some of the most rewarding parts of it about blending your passion for pop culture and civic engagement?
Well, it's NerdsVote, nerdsvote.com, and it came because I was having a conversation with Ashley Birch one day after we had finished an episode of OKKO, Let's Be Heroes.
Great show. So
great
solid.
Show. Great show. So this is what another great thing that came out of there. And we were talking about how it was hard to kind of like share our opinions with people when we don't even get like water cooler time, because we just come into a session and we leave, and we don't get to hear other people's opinions as much, friends and things like that, because we work in isolation a lot. And it got me thinking about how, really the only time that I'm around a large group of people is at conventions. And I love doing conventions, being guests at conventions. I love traveling and meeting people. And it's a rare opportunity to really see parts of this country and the world that you would not normally, may not normally come across in your day-to-day life. And I thought, I've been to a lot of these, and I haven't seen a ton of like voter outreach at any of these conventions. And it was, I think, 2017. So it was sort of, I was feeling personally like we really needed to talk about what was happening with our country and how we could be part of positive change. And so I talked to my friend JP Karliak, who
Yep.
and another voice actor, and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, voice actor, voice director. And Mary was so enthusiastic, and JP is an incredible like logistics person. And so we said, hell yeah, let's put something together. And, Mary has since gone on to do other things, but JP and I think, he's a huge advocate for the LGBTQIA community, as am I. But knowing that, voting shapes legislation to protect the arts, to protect marginalized people, is a way for you to help drive your democracy as an individual. It just was too important. And so we decided we wanted to do outreach. And it really dovetails so beautifully because, the con community, the cosplayers, the gamers, the, people who love animation, these are all people who are creative in and of themselves, right? They're people who are passionate, they're smart, they're creative, they understand the, Paragon and Renegade options. They understand there are consequences to your choices and that you can make connections in the strangest places over, the internet and, and that you shouldn't necessarily judge a book by its cover, and so we just started doing that. And as voice actors, we really wanted to have something that we could also talk to people who were coming up to talk to us about, like, we love to talk about our projects in voice acting, but there's other things. And there's so much, especially now with AI and censorship and, books in libraries and things like that, like access to the media that you love is shaped by legislation. So, and the expression that you love is shaped by that. And so it was a way to broaden the conversation about creativity, the arts, and, different people's way of life. And so we've managed to do it in a very nonpartisan way, just asking people to take that creativity and that zest they have and turn that towards democracy. And sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, but to stay in the game, literally, and use your voice, literally. And I always thought as well that when I was a kid, if I had, the actress who plays Wonder Woman talk to me and give me a sticker and say, remember, you always got to vote. This is how we keep democracy going. I would have a much more positive association with voting.
Right.
Than if that had not happened. And I wanted to give that experience to other folks. And so, if Steve Bloom hands you a sticker or takes a photo with you and says, don't forget, use your voice, that you're like, yeah, Wolverine says, and you have this positive thing. And it's been a really great vehicle to have. Plus, I love to give away free stuff, so it's always great to give away like pins and buttons and things like that. But I do think it's integral to saving, and maintaining our democracy.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah, you guys are doing an amazing job. From the research that I've done on it. You, JP on like his own other stuff, right? You guys are an amazing team, and you guys are doing so good. So I wanted to make sure that we took the time to highlight that a little bit, and I just want to say thank you for doing everything you do. It's extremely important, and of course this goes without saying, but it means a lot to not only me but hundreds upon thousands of other fans.
Thank you. I feel that, when we say nerds, you can be a nerd for anything, but in general, it's like, this is a group of people who, of course, now conventions and nerdery is more popular. Yeah. But traditionally, these are people who this is a community that hasn't been tapped to give their impressions, their opinions, and to steer. And I think it's time that as a community, we used our voices, all of us, and we do have the power in so many ways as consumers, as voters, to use our voices to change things. And I think games have changed their endings.
Oh yeah.
Characters have been brought back from the dead because people flipped out. Like storylines have changed because it's really about the fans. It's about the people who love these different mediums. And so when people tell me like, oh, you need to bring this game back, or, oh, you need to come to this convention, I'm like, you need to say it, because my voice isn't ones that, it's the consumers' voices, it's the fans that they're listening for. And there's never been an easier time to make your opinions known. You can use Twitter to talk to a game dev, and hopefully with respect and love, and, and say like, we loved this storyline, we're so bummed that you let it go, or when are you going to bring this, that's the power of the internet. If you use it respectfully and kindly, you have an inside line that, like, you used to have to call on a phone with a cord and, say, I want my cereal brought back. You discontinued my cereal. And now it's like, I'm going to write you an email. I'm going to call. I'm going to tweet. I'm going to blue sky. I'm going to Instagram you. You guys have a lot of power.
Yeah.
Use it.
That's how we got a hedgehog redesign. It's
Correct.
topical, or not topical, timely reference.
Tis, indeed. Tis. So yeah, use your voice for good. I always say, use your powers for good.
Yeah, lovely. I love it. Well, right before we get into the speed round, I want to make sure we brought it back to the thing we had pinned, your song story.
Oh my gosh. Let me see.
And just to clarify, it doesn't have to be like, this song changed my life forever. No, it could just be a funny story. It could just be a little anecdote that had this song associated with, just anything.
I mean, this is going to be this isn't even, it's a little unexpected probably after I've talked about like punk rock and stuff.
Sure.
I mean, one lovely thing I knew. So when I started dating my boyfriend, he is a drummer, plays in rock bands, doom metal bands, tattoos, all the whole
Right.
9 yards. Right. And I've known who he was for a long time. I used to go see his band when I was in like college. And I have, I always talk about like punk rock and rock and roll and everything. And I remember us, I think it was like our first date, and I was like, who's your favorite band if you had to choose? And I was so sure that he was going to say, because I know I have a few favorite bands, but I was like, this is an impossible question for me, but I was like, who's your favorite band if you had to just choose one band? And he looked at me, and I thought for sure it was going to be like Iron Maiden or like New York Dolls or Stereophonics or something like that. And he just looks at me, he goes, the Beach Boys. And I was like, the Beach Boys? Really? And I just started singing Good Vibrations to him. And we just sat there and sang Good Vibrations like the entire song. And I knew that he was probably my person at that point, because we were sitting in a restaurant, and doing the little in the breaks and stuff. So yeah. I'm picking up good vibrations. It just was surprising, because they're one of my favorite bands as well.
Yeah.
Just for like feel good driving music and stuff. And so I do think that's important. I will say, like, to get somebody who shares your love of music. Doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but like I've never been happier than being in a relationship with somebody who loves music as much as or more than I do. And also gives me a perspective that talking to him about, I guess this is a double down, but Don't Stand So Close to Me, talking about the drum parts by the Police, and always thinking about it from a listener's perspective, just from somebody who's enjoying it. And then him telling me the story about the relationship that Stuart Copeland had with Sting, and how listening for how the drums get, like, Stuart Copeland's actually like kind of fucking with Sting by playing so fast and like pushing the song almost faster than Sting wants it to go, and feeling the chaos that Stuart Copeland is bringing to it as this kind of you, and how the play it's a great metaphor. It's a great way of being like, oh, this is how you act. This is like this tension between artists, and how when you do something, they have to counter move, and what greatness comes from that, from just taking chances and taking risks. And ever since we had that conversation, I don't think I've ever listened to another song the same way again. As a non-musician, now I'm always listening for the tension, who's driving the song, and what, like, if there's any like conflict that's happening. It's really interesting to me. And so there was a ton of that in the Police songs. So it's fun to listen for that as well. So he's taught me a lot about music in general.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How does that song, Good Vibrations, fit into your life today?
Oh man, you know what? It's like the Beach Boys are like audible champagne or something for me. It's like audible sunshine. It like you can't be in a bad mood.
That's real.
And listen to the Beach Boys at the same time. So I listen to a lot of the Beach Boys because I do like, I'm emotional and I get like, Mah! And then I'm like, gotta keep those good vibes. It's an easy way to turn it around. So I offer that to all of you, even if you roll your eyes at the Beach Boys. Get their 10 greatest hits, make a Spotify playlist, and then if you're in a bad mood, I dare you to listen to all 10 songs and not feel 1,000 times better.
Quick follow-up before the speed round. Which one of you were doing the kind of sound effect? That was you.
Which is really bad because he sings and he can. So I should not have been. My falsetto is not good. His is much better. But it is one of our things that we do. We actually go down the rabbit hole a lot, and I have been known to stand up on the bed and jump around and sing like just anything. I'm always like, oh, I don't know the words to this. Oh, yes, I do. So he's also helped me get much less self-conscious about doing like karaoke and stuff.
Right.
Because I used to be but you caterwaul in front of someone you think is really cute and you're trying to make like you, and then you're like, well, all bets are off.
Yeah. I know that feeling. Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's love if you can, screech, rancid at the top of your lungs and have them still be like, you're adorable.
Well, thank you for sharing that song story. It's lovely. Well, let's get into the speed round. I'm going to ask you a few random questions and we're going to see how you do.
Okay. Oh, God. No pressure.
If you were the final boss in a video game, what would your title be?
Big Bad Baddie McBatterson. My dog likes that one.
He likes it. Yes. Don't be sorry. I love it when pets make the cameos in these episodes. Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. If you can live in the world of your favorite childhood show, movie, or video game, which one would it be and why?
Oh, man. Favorite childhood show.
Well, I know you say didn't grow up with a lot of TV.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It could be a current show. Let's change it up. If you can live in the world.
A current show. I would be, probably RuPaul's Drag Race. I just want to be surrounded by drag queens at all times and have them like make me up and get to wear 6-inch heels.
Understood. If you had to guess, what would you say is the song you've listened to the most times in your life?
Oh, most times in my life. I'm going to say, whoa. That's a tough one. It's not going to be the Beach Boys. It's going to be...
It's gonna be May. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be, I would say, probably Gimme Shelter.
Gimme Shelter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones, or Oh, God. Probably Rio by Duran Duran.
Wow. Hell yeah. That's a great song. If you were a superhero, what would your name be and what powers would you have?
Oh,
As if you're not technically a superhero.
Brambles, Blackheart, and it would be getting people to tell on themselves.
Oh man, if OKKO was still going. If only.
I feel like you're like, no, I said superhero, not stripper name.
What would your 14-year-old self think of who you are today?
I think she'd be like, your hair is so boring. But she would think that I needed to be more politically active. But I think she'd be pretty happy with how I turned out, honestly. I think she really would, considering I think I've managed to keep my ideals intact. But I think she would say I've definitely lost a lot of my cool factor. But I still have my Doc Martens from back then, so hey. I think she's happy about that. Yeah.
Well, it is now time to recommend 3 people that you'll share this episode with when it comes out, that you think they'll be a good guest on the show, if you think they'll say yes to being on the show, if you can help me get them on the show.
I'm going to say Julie Nathanson, if somebody hasn't suggested her.
Nope.
Julie Nathanson would be great. She's very interesting and one of my besties. I'm going to say Brittany Cox. She's done anime and she also does some directing. She would be cool. Amanda Wyatt. She's a game director.
Cool.
Yeah, let me see what I can do.
Yeah, no problem. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but yeah, just a little nudge, to see what we can do to get them on the show. I really appreciate it and thank you. Do you have any final thoughts?
Just thank you so much for having me on. This has been so fun. I didn't realize what time it was. I'm like, wow, we went for it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for having such interesting questions.
Aww.
And really, I really appreciate it. You are as advertised. And
that means so much. Oh my God.
and yeah, just thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for, thinking deeper about, how you are in the world and what your superpowers are and how you can make change and do good things for people and, follow your dreams. I really feel like my motto is, it's a beautiful day in LA and anything can happen, and you can put your city in there too. And just, never believe that you can't do what you want, because, we have all the tools we need to get where we want to go. So yeah, don't give up. And I'm happy you're here, each and every one of you. And, if you are feeling empowered, help other people. And if you're feeling like you need help, please reach out, because there's always somebody who wants you to be here and is grateful to share this little blue bead with you, as am I.
Very beautifully said. Thank you so much. You are an incredible, amazing human being. And yeah, thank you for just being on the show and talking to me. I really feel like we really connected, and I'm very grateful to have the chance to talk to you and meet you. So thank you so much, Courtenay.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. If you want to hear more from Courtenay, be sure to check out her website at CourtenayTaylor.com. Be sure to follow her on her socials and check out NerdsVote. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet. Follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one.
Next time on The Razzle Dazzle Show.
I think this is very contradictory, where my favorite era in Star Wars is the Clone Wars, right? The Republic versus Separatist era. And that, I think we have the most politics we get in Star Wars is within the prequel era, okay?
That is like the most politic heavy era in Star Wars, I believe.
We also get a lot of cool war stuff, like the Clone Wars. Like we actually get like a lot of cool battles, and we get to explore every aspect of the Star Wars universe within Clone Wars. Yeah, we get the politics. Yeah, we get the bounty hunter. Yeah, we get the soldier stuff. We get the mythical Jedi religion stuff, and like all of that together. It's why I love it so much.
Tune in next week.